Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. It's time for another Ask Wrestle Juice. Guys, got a bunch of great questions over here on the community thread, the QA thing that I posted. You guys left a bunch of great questions. Before we get started, as always, I'm going to ask you a huge favor. Give this video a thumbs up and then hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So I know obviously the big news of the week is Keith Lee's huge debut over there in AEW. He came out, he threw Isaiah Cassidy all over the ring. The AEW did a great job of making it seem like a really big deal. And I thought it was great. I had a smile from one end of my face to the other end the entire time. Keith Lee seems like he might be in a position, in a place where he is appreciated. And that's great to hear. A couple of you had questions about Keith Lee, so I'm just going to do a bunch of Keith Lee questions to kick us off. First off, from Megawad, he asks, how likely do you think it is they slap the Rocket onto Keith Lee and have him win the face of the Revolution ladder match and subsequently become TNT champion? I kind of don't think that's going to happen immediately. I feel like perhaps what'll happen is somebody else in the face of the Revolution ladder match will end up starting a feud with Keith Lee during that ladder match. And that's going to be his first big thing, because my personal opinion is Andrade is going to win this ladder match and he's going to become the next TNT champion. And maybe after he feuds with Darby Allin, a couple other people, then Keith Lee might be the guy to take that TNT title off of Andrade. That's how I kind of feel like it's going to happen. I think he's going to become TNT champion. I don't know. I don't think anybody complain. I wouldn't complain if they did it immediately with Keith Lee. I just feel like they're setting other stuff up instead. I think they want to give him a bit of a story getting there first, which I think is probably not a terrible idea. You don't want to make it seem, oh, we're just bringing this guy in to put the title on him. You need really, if you want a story to work, you need some stakes, you need some tension. Your hero needs to, overcome some odds before getting the title. Otherwise, you risk it becoming a bit on the stale side. Next up, Chelsea fan asks, how does Keith Lee's new entrance music compare to his old NXT original? He says what he asks, or she, he or she, it's a dog for the avatar, asks, what is your favorite AEW theme at the moment? Also, Marvell asked, has AEW gotten better with original entrance songs? That new Keith Lee is amazing. And let's see here. Lance Gilmore asks, how would you book Keith Lee in AEW in order to avoid the slump new wrestlers find themselves in before they really hit their groove? I thought that AEW, so first of all, I think his theme song is absolutely terrific. I wish he sang on it. I wish that was a thing, because he sang on his WWE themes. I wish he would sing on it. But although I think it's good. I think the music behind, I think the lyrics are a little too on the nose, maybe. That's a small quibble. It's a great theme. I wish he was on it. I think that'd make it even better. So yeah, as far as this theme, I think it's pretty good. AEW themes in general have been getting much better. I think Adam Cole's really around Double, or what was that paper? All Out. Adam Cole's theme song really sort of kicked their Mikey Ruckus's catalog up into another level. So I think he's not quite maybe Jim Johnston quite yet. He's maybe sort of on par with CFO dollar sign. CFOs, whatever they're called. It's a dollar sign. I'm not going to automatically assume it's an S. So I think he's maybe on par with some of the CFO stuff. Let's see here. FSI says, a question I thought of. Imagine if in 2018 we heard there was a show that Keith Lee and Jay White debuted the same night. CM Punk and Dean Ambrose teamed to face the Revival if there was a Texas death match. Our heads will explode. So the question is, if WWE, is WWE bad compared to what we get elsewhere, or is it bad just because it's truly out of anything interesting? Because it is just well and truly out of anything interesting. Oh. So yeah, I think that the one thing that AEW does is, the question is basically, is WWE just really bad or not? I think what AEW does is it shows us what we could have had in WWE And that's not to say everything AEW does is better than what WWE does. I think there's still a lot of things that AEW needs to work on to feel like it's as big and important a show as WWE. WWE is still the place to be. If you can succeed there, let's be honest, you can succeed like anywhere. So I think that AEW just illustrates, hey, WWE, especially like as it pertains to the NXT stuff, to that sort of class of wrestler going back about 5 years, is that it's really a simple formula. You try to keep, one thing that I really notice lately is, and one thing that sticks out to me, especially with all the talk about trying to get the youth demo, trying to get younger people to tune in. Well, I mean, if you extrapolate younger people all the way up to the age of 49, I'm considered young, right? So they're trying to get up that 1849 demo. And one thing that has really shifted over the past couple of years in popular culture especially is pacing. With the dawn of this sort of goes back to Vine. Really, remember Vine was like 6 seconds, like 6-second videos. And then you sort of graduated up to like TikTok, I guess now is the thing, where you have like 1 to 3 minutes or so. People are used to that quick pace, right? You get as much stuff in as possible. And WWE is really bad at that. They are terrible at pushing the pace. AEW, if you watch a Dynamite or a Rampage, they have got so many segments that are just bang, 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 bang. Over on WWE, you have recap after recap after recap, commercial after commercial after commercial. Whereas with AEW, they just fit so much more in to that 2 hours on a Wednesday, as opposed to the 2 hours that we see 2 nights later on SmackDown or the 3 hours that we see on Raw. There is so much more packed into an AEW show. And that's why I get the feeling that like people are just happier there because they get to be on TV in general. So I think that WWE just needs to work on their pacing. They need to learn how to fit so much more in. Assume that whoever's watching your show, pretty much for the most part, we've been watching it. We're the ones who have stuck around. So we don't need endless recaps from what happened last week or a half hour ago or 2 hours ago or whatever. We don't need that stuff. We've been watching. And honestly, with pro wrestling, you just dive into it. And then you experience all this stuff and you got to figure it out for yourself anyways. So anyways, next up, Darius the Great. Let's talk a little bit more about AEW. What's your take on Hikaru Shida's comments about the experience of Joshi wrestlers in AEW? So Hikaru Shida did an interview, I forget with whom, but maybe I'll link it in the description if I remember. She said basically things are a lot different now in AEW than it was in the beginning. If you guys remember, of course, AEW, when they started, they really were looking to push Joshi wrestling on their show. And obviously they dialed that back quite a bit. And now Hikaru Shida was saying, you know, it's difficult to find time on TV. One thing about AEW is if you're a wrestler who can effectively communicate to Tony Khan ideas for how to be used, you have a leg up on other people who can't. Well, that puts wrestlers whose first language is in English at a bit of a disadvantage because they can't effectively communicate, hey, I've got this idea. Now, if it's me and I've got all these wrestlers at my disposal, I'm not necessarily I'm not a wrestling booker, but I could just imagine, I've got NXT Steve. I'm not going to wait for them. If I have somebody at the level of Hikaru Shida or Emi Sakura, I'm not going to wait for them to come at me with ideas. I'm going to find things for them to do on television. So yeah, I totally understand. Like, you know, I mean, granted what I read was a translation, so who knows how much is lost in translation, but the word frustrated seemed to come up a couple times. And I totally get it. I mean, I understand the people who are prominent names at the beginning of AEW and now they're not. I mean, somebody asked here about Brian Cage. How would you book him? I totally understand how AEW, those wrestlers helped bring AEW to the dance. Now that WWE has released all types of wrestlers, they're signing a lot more names from over there, building up other wrestlers. And all of a sudden, those insiders at the beginning are now sort of on the outside looking in. I'd imagine it's frustrating. Unfortunately, one of the issues is simply there is so much time. I just talked about how AEW is really good at fitting so much stuff in. Unfortunately, there is so much time, so not everybody's going to be fit in. So I don't know. I totally understand that point of view. AEW just simply seems to be a place where the wrestlers have to take it upon themselves to pitch ideas and get on TV. Big Swole said the same thing in her comments. Whereas over in WWE, you got to wait around. You hope that you can pitch to TV. More likely, you just have to hope that somebody uses you and sees something that they want to do with you. So, I mean, it seems like it's, the same problem, the same, two different sides of the same coin right there. And unfortunately, in some situations, there's nothing you can do. Sometimes in life, there's just nothing you can do. Let's move on here. Brandon Montemayor asks, since you predicted the next 4 AEW men's champions, who do you see as the next 4 AEW women's champions? So I think, and somebody asked here also, it was at the beginning of the thing. Sir Hubbo says, no, I'm sorry. No, that's not it. Here we go. Prime Joy Bearding asked, with Mercedes Martinez feuding with Rosa, it seems likely Rosa is going to be fighting Britt at Revolution. Do you think it's time for Rosa to take it off Britt? Yes, I do. I think Thunder Rosa is going to take it off Britt at Revolution. I think that's going to happen. So I think it's going to be Thunder Rosa is going to be next. And then you need a heel of some sort. I know Larson has said on Going in Raw that he thinks that Jade's probably going to take. She's going to be a champion. I don't think she's going to be champ. So I'm going to keep Jade out of it. I'd say it's probably going to be Thunder Rosa next. She'll have a longer reign with it. After her, I could see possibly maybe Serena Deeb. The way her trajectory is going, I could see maybe Serena Deeb getting a title run, perhaps. And then after her, it would be awesome if Emi Sakura took it off of her. I really wish they do. I don't know if Emi's going to be sticking around or not, but I think she's terrific. Maybe if the language thing is an issue, maybe give her like a manager or somebody who can a spokesperson on her behalf. So yeah, I think that it's going to be Thunder Rosa, and then I think it's going to be who did I just say? Serena Deeb, and then I could see it going to another face, and that would be, I don't know, maybe Ty Conti will have her time then, maybe. And then Britt Baker will get it back for a second run. Maybe. How about that? Or Ruby Soho after that. Yeah. How about Serena Deeb, then Ruby Soho, and then Jade Cargill. Then she'll be double champ. How about that? Anyways, let's see. What else do we have here? We got a couple more minutes here. Robert Humphrey says, with Tony Khan saying getting Jay White was a last minute thing, how long do you expect his stay in AEW to last? Also, do you think other Bullet Club members may arrive since a nice amount of the faction has been in the States for Impact? I don't think they're going to have much more Bullet Club stuff going on in AEW because they're doing that in Impact already. And they're sort of doing as much as they can. I think if AEW is going to work with more New Japan talent, it's going to be once travel restrictions have eased a lot more and you can get guys like Okada, Naito, et cetera, the bigger names. I think that Jay White is probably going to stick around until he'll probably have a match at Revolution, and that'll probably be it at that point. Let's see here. J-Man, do you think Rock versus Roman will happen at Mania 39? And if it does, is it for a title? I definitely think that match is going to happen. I think it's a 50-50 proposition. I think The Rock is a very busy person. I think that the movie studios have a lot invested in him. I think he's also a guy who can write his own ticket and do his own thing, so that doesn't necessarily matter that the movie studios probably don't want him pro wrestling. That being said, I think it's probably like a 50-50 shot, maybe. That's what I would give it. WWE's got a lot of money to spend right now, so I think they might be able to do that. John Adams, is AEW more concerned with moments than developing complex stories? He cites Hangman's Reign. I actually think Hangman's Reign is a story. It's him pushing himself too far. It's him being in matchups that are so brutal that it's going to end up costing him the AEW title because it all sort of, takes a little chunk of him at a time along the way. So I think there is actually a story being played out. It's just being played out inside the wrestling ring, which is kind of how I prefer it. Dominic asks, do you think AEW will sign Johnny Gargano? He says, I believe their roster is getting bloated, but I'd like to know what you think. I don't know. I think their roster is getting kind of bloated, to be honest with you. So I don't know. I maybe it's a place where high profile wrestlers go. It's a place where former NXT 1.0 people go. He's Mr. NXT 1.0. So yeah, I think he's probably going to go to AEW. What are they going to do with him? I don't know. They got so many people over there. Somebody needs to start a third major promotion. Sir Hubbo asks, will AEW be able to manage all their uppercarders? Probably not, because they got too many of them. We'll do one last one. Two last ones. Irish Insight says, any favorite boxing / MMA fighters or fights? I was a huge fan of Anderson Silva. I was devastated when that dude wrapped his leg around that other guy's leg. That really sucked. What was that dude's name? Luke something? No. Weedman. Yeah. I was a big fan of Anderson Silva back in the day. I don't really keep up with anything these days, though. And then Doob Zachariah, hard shell or soft shell tacos? I'm a fan of both, to be honest with you. Sort of a mood thing. I don't know if I have a preference of one or the other. Probably soft shell. It's easier. It's easier on the teeth. It's easier on the teeth. Anyways. I don't even know where she is. Where's my dog? I think she's probably out there. So unfortunately, no Gypsy today. Sorry, everybody.